Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to be showing you guys this lens, TT Artisan's 75mm F1.5 Swirly Bokeh lens. Now I already tried doing this vlog out on location, but the heavens opened up, it lashed down with rain, and after a while I gave up and come back home. Yeah, about here, yeah, just can you see her face? 1, 2, 3. So I'm just trying to show a shot of me walking off back to the car in the rain, which is really stupid because I've left my GoPro back there, which means I've just got to walk back in the rain to get the GoPro. It's raining, I want to get back in the car. I've got a bald head and it's starting to get wet. But one of those things, I wonder if it's weatherproofed or not. There was no mention online whether it's got any weather sealing. And you can see it's starting to teem down with rain now. And I did think to myself, shall I risk it? Shall I get the lens out and put it under the hose pipe? And just see if any water does get inside it. But then I thought, well no, that's a waste of a lens. It's stupid because if it's not weather sealed, which I don't think it is, it will get wet and the components inside will get rusty, the blades might even get a bit sticky. So there's no point in tempting fate with that one. So this is the F1.5 75mm Swirly Bokeh lens from TT Artisan, and they sent me one to play with, review and give them some feedback, and I've been shooting it the last couple of days on digital. I haven't been wasting any film with it. I've been practicing with Swirly Bokeh on my digital. It makes sense. Why do I want to waste film practicing when I can just stick this on digital and see what the lens does? So that's what I've been doing. So let's strip it right back to the basics here. If you're on the lookout for a new lens, what do? You go online, you review the lens, you have a little look at the reviews, see what people say, maybe watch a YouTube video on it, and from there you can make a decision whether you want to buy the lens or not. And once it comes to your door, you put it on your camera, and that's when you try out the lens for yourself and see if it's right for you. Going forward, is it going to be good for the sort of photography that you do? If not, I guess that you make sure that you've got some sort of 30-day money back guarantee return or something if it's not to your taste, and try a different lens out. When TT Artisan sent me this lens, obviously I want to make a video on it and show you guys about this lens. So I have to play with it as well to see, you know, what I think of it and whether it will suit my sort of photography. Most of you probably know these old, not this one, but the old vintage lenses often give you interesting looks, and some of them, like some of my folding cameras, I've had sometimes this swirly bokeh effect, and I've actually grown to like it. Now and again I hit it, but I don't intentionally try to go and get there. I just take pictures, and sometimes I can see the leaves in the background where the light is hitting them just right. You get this nice swirly bokeh effect. And when TT Artisan came out with these lenses, and they said, offered me one and said, would you like to try it out? I jumped at the chance because I thought, that's ideal. This ain't gonna work in the car either. I can't even vlog this in the car. I'm on location where I wanted to go, but it's peeing down with rain. My body's all hot, the car inside's getting steamy. I'm opening the windows, now the rain's all coming over me bloody buttons. I'm not having that. We'll go home and do the rest of this. So when does the weatherman ever get it right? It wasn't supposed to rain today. Never mind. Let's get on with it. First of all, I was quite surprised by the packaging. When I opened up, the box looked quite nice, and the packaging inside was a cellophane bag with the lens inside and a couple of bits of paper, which is the guarantee. And then I got the lens out, and the first thing I thought was when I got the lens out, wow, that's nice and weighty. When I took it out of the cellophane wrapper, the lens felt quality, and it looked quality as well. All the markings, all the inscribings, the glass, the coatings on there, it just looked like a really expensive lens, and these things are far from expensive. This lens on the website at the moment, as of 2024, late 24, is around about $260, $270. I've even seen them for cheaper than that used on eBay, exactly the same lens. In pounds, that's what, nearly £200. So ain't a bad price for a lens if it performs really well, and this one does. I looked at it, Took it out, started playing with it, and straight away I was impressed with the focusing ring. It's got some nice tension there. It's not too loose, it's not too tight, it's just about right. And also the aperture ring as well, and it clicks into place nicely across all of the apertures. And moreover, I chose this lens from TT Artisan because it's got an M42 screw fit. I thought that's going to be ideal because some of my old classic cameras like this one and a Pentax Spotmatic and another Pentax I've got and a couple of others are M42 screw fits. Not only that, I've got an M42 screw fit mount for my DSLR cameras, which I often use for video. So straight away out of the box, this lens looked and felt impressive. But how will it perform? That's obviously going to be the telltale signs of whether or not this is going to make or break you buying a new lens. And straight away, anything with f1.2, 1.4, 1.5, you think to yourself they're going to cost money. Usually faster lenses cost more money. So there's nothing smart about this lens other than its build quality. On the lens you've got your distance scale, which is nice and visible, and it goes from 0.75 meters to 20 meters, and on the other side of the scale in feet it goes from 2.5 feet all the way to over 30 feet. And TT Artisan market this lens and call it their Swirly Bokeh lens, which is true to their word. It is a Swirly Bokeh lens. If you're not quite sure what that is, we all know what bokeh is when you shoot a wide open aperture and anything twinkling in the background is going to cause these nice little blobs and balls in the background. It looks really nice, right? Especially at night photographs in colour. You get that lovely sort of all those street lights and stuff all blurring in the background but end up spherical or sometimes hexagon depending on how many aperture blades are inside the lens. Elements and groups and stuff like that, I don't really know what all that means other than how many pieces of glass in there and how they're set inside the lens. It doesn't matter to me either. I just shoot the lens and see how it looks, if it's right for me or not. I'm not sure if many of us actually look at the elements and groups. Some of us may do, some of us don't, but if I like a lens I'll buy it and stick with it. And for all you geeks out there who want to know what's inside this lens, apparently there is, I wrote this down because I won't remember none of it. So six elements in 4 groups. So you've got 6 what I think is pieces of glass grouped together in 4 stages inside this barrel of the lens. I might be wrong, I don't know. That's what I think. But the more elements, the more groups, obviously the better quality the lens. Like for example, this 24-105 L series Canon lens has got, I've written it all down, you see, I don't know, 18 something, where is it? 18 elements in 13 groups. So obviously it's going to give you a much better quality picture with all them glasses grouped together. So the Zeiss Milvus has got this group, so obviously more precision inside this lens than this one, so you'd expect these photographs to be much better. Now this Pentax SMC Takumar lens, this 50mm lens, has got 6 elements in 5 groups. Is that right? Yeah, 6 elements in 5 groups, apparently. Seems quite a lot, doesn't it? But fantastic lens, gives me absolutely amazing photographs. And another thing worth noticing about the TT Artisan lens is they've put 13 blades inside. And we can see the shape of TT Artisan's 13 blades against those little tiddly lights in the background. And as I focus more on the lights and away from the camera, as it's creeping towards the background more, we can start seeing that Swirly Bokeh coming into play. And if I go right into focus, it's gone away. But if we just defocus it slightly, come towards the camera more, you can see that Swirly Bokeh is now starting to work. So there's definitely a distance between the camera and the background when that starts coming into play, how much Swirly Bokeh you get. It's expensive film now, so I didn't want to waste any film. I put this lens straight on a digital camera and went out and took some shots. But also I've got this Zeiss Milvus 50mm F1.5 lens that I can compare it to. Now that may not be a fair comparison because this lens is absolutely flawless. It's a beautiful lens and it works really, really well. Produces wonderful photographs, very sharp, edge to edge. It's just a great lens. If this thing can perform half as good as this, I'll be happy. So I took both lenses with this camera out on location to do some experiments with. I'll show you those photographs now. I'll show you the results. And to be honest with you, this lens blew me away. So my first test was indoors with both lenses set to their widest aperture. You can see the Artisan lens on the left is much softer around the edges, and that's not a flaw, it's the way the lens has been designed. Moving the camera and lenses closer, the Zeiss is looking sharper, but don't forget there is a focal length difference there of about 25mm. Getting even closer to the subject, now you can't really see any difference at all. So far this lens is impressive, but what about outside in the daytime? Here is a landscape shot, both taken at their widest aperture. We can see the Artisan is softer again around the edges, but if we zoom in to the tree, we can see it's nice and sharp and not much difference to the Zeiss. Now setting both lenses to 5.6, which I think is around their sweet spot, now we have lost the soft edges on the Artisan lens. Other than the focal length, I can't really tell which is which. And here, if we go closer to the tree, seeing how the background is between the lenses, you can now see the Artisan lens is showing off its swirly bokeh feature, wide open, whereas the Zeiss wants to prove a point at how flawless it is. And here are both lenses at f5.6. This comparison gave me good confidence in using the lens, but what about colour fringing or banding? So looking at the digital shots that I took, especially against the Milvus, I must admit this lens blew me away. I didn't expect it to perform half as good as it did. I even did a couple of shots in colour just so I could have a look at the banding, you know, and see if wider open apertures I would get on sharper edges, any of that sort of colour banding that you get from cheaper lenses. I've actually seen that on Canon lenses in the past as well. Didn't get any of it on this whatsoever. Obviously that would depend on the conditions at the time, but where I was shooting I didn't see any banding at all. So, you know, only time will tell when you shoot more different scenes in different lighting conditions whether you see that or not. So far from these digital tests, my estimation of the TT Artisan lens has gone off the scale. This lens appears to be pretty good. I then went into the woods with just the Artisan lens to see what effects I could get with various background blurs on the same subject, basically pushing the lens out of focus, so starting with a sharp focus and then just pulling out of focus each shot I took, going from a slight blur to an extreme blur, just adjusting the focus ring. I found that the swirly bokeh effect is more prominent when there is a shimmer of light in the background on leaves. So when you're looking for that effect, you need to be looking for areas where the light is falling on the leaves or trees or your background the best. And it's more challenging on a dull day because there's not much reflections. So I tried a few different photos with my daughter Jess. The closer I got and the further the background is away from Jess, the more out of focus and blurry the background is going to be. So there is a subject to background distance factor that works best for swirly bokeh, and that is going to be a trial and error thing. But I had a good idea from the digital shots I took when I tested the lens.
That's all right. Is that all right?
I don't think I did it properly. So after Jessica's shoot, Jess and Haroon went shopping, and the rest of the film I went to the farm and shot the remaining photographs at f1.5. So that was a test done with the digital camera, and I must admit cheaper lenses have generally got their little flaws and little quirks whether you love them or not. And I've got some lenses that have got some flaws and they're absolutely wonderful. I know what the flaws are and they produce great photographs. This lens here we know has been made specifically to give you that swirly bokeh look. In fact, I read online that it's been based on an old lens, a Carl Zeiss Genar lens, which is a Bioto lens, 75mm F1.5. It looks very similar to this, and that was a swirly bokeh lens. I don't know if it was intentional, but I think back in the day the lenses weren't as good as they are now, and you had these little flaws. And another swirly bokeh lens is the old Russian Soviet one, the Helios lens. There's a few different ones. If you ever see those online, they're relatively cheap, really cheap actually, 40-50 quid for a lens. And they give you an amazing bokeh, a swirly bokeh effect. So if you do want to try a little bit of swirly bokeh and you don't want to stretch to the price of one of these, grab yourself one of those Helios little lenses and see how you get on. Here might be nice. Here might be nice. So I've got some light coming off of these leaves, which is important. So we'll try a shot here, see if this works. Right, Jess, come over here.
I'm in the grass.
What?
I got sandals on. You picked the pit with the lights.
Get on with it. Get over there. You shouldn't have worn sandals. Look, even I've got sensible clobber on. So open that up.
Open it up.
What's that? Hey, there you go.
Yeah.
About here, yeah. Just can you see her face, Jess's face lighting? Look, if you take it away, look over that way, Jess. Now you can see it. So I've got an ideal background. You can see it up there. We've got some mottled stuff going on. There's not a great deal of light. Ideally, it would be nice if a bit of sun was coming down and lighting some of those leaves, but it's not happening. But this is the best location I can find to try and get swirly bokeh. So let's just take a picture of Jess. We'll do some metering. And at 1.5, with a roll of FP4 at 125, it's given me 2,000th of a second. This camera is only 1,000, so I'm going to have to use an ND filter to try and balance that out. It's a 3-stop ND filter, so we're going to come to 250th of a second at 1.5 and take this shot. Hopefully we'll get some swirly bokeh, and quickly, because Jess wants to go shopping. Now this filter is, the filter thread on this is 58mm. And I haven't got a 58mm ND filter, so I'm just using this one here, which is a 72mm. I'm going to place it over the top, hold it, and take the picture. I'm going to come down a little bit so we can get some of that sky in. Hopefully we can get a nice focus. Hold the filter over the top. Haroon's got the reflector. We've got a little bit of light kicking back into Jess. There's only 2 downsides that I've found. You know, you've always got to try and look at the negatives in something, no matter how good it is. And it's a 58mm thread. That's not a downside, but I ain't got no 58mm filters apart from a graduate filter for my Pentagon 6. I do have a 25 speed film, but I didn't want to go and use that. I wanted to use FP4. So what I did, I just put the 72mm filter over the top, which was a little bit fiddly because I found myself focusing in, then pulling the filter out, and then hopefully holding the focus. But for me, I haven't got any of those filters, so I need to get one, which is no problem at all. But I definitely do need to get one, even if it's a skylight filter, because this glass is so close to the edge. If you're going to walk around with this swinging off your hip or whatever, that glass is going to get damaged if it hits into a wall or something. There's nothing there to protect it. So maybe a hood or a UV filter or something. I'd probably prefer a hood because I don't really like UV filters, just to protect the lens. And it's also got that classic look from those quality lenses of the days of old, with this sort of, you know, this rugged looking focus ring. So it kind of gives a bit of a nostalgic feel to the lens. They give you a lens cap for it, which is a thread, so you've got to screw the lens cap on. I suppose that's great because it's not going to fall off and fall over all into your bag, but it is a bit of a, it sounds stupid, these little things that we're used to, like just pulling a cap off. This one, you've got to unscrew it. There it goes. And then screw it back on. But I think if I was designing this, I would have made a cap that actually sort of clipped on and clipped off like we used to. But that's none here or there, really. The other thing is when you put this on your camera, the distance scale doesn't line up at the top of the camera. It didn't on this and a few of my other ones. It sort of ended up at the side. But luckily TT Artisan have given you 3 little Allen key bolts on the barrel of the lens here that you undo and you reposition and then tighten. It doesn't mess with the focusing at all. It just enables you to align the distance scale at the top of the camera. The downside is they don't give you the Allen key, which are, God, you could probably buy 100 of them for a penny. They're only very, very small. So it would be nice if TT Artisan did put that in the box, because they do say on their website how you can align it, but they say that the Allen key that you need isn't one of these little things. It's only tiny, isn't inside the box, but that would be nice if they did supply that. That's all really. Other than that, it's a fantastic lens, and I'm looking forward to doing more with this in the future. 75mm, I'd be more looking at doing portraits with that focal length, and also some landscapes as well. Not so much street photography. I like to get in a little bit close with street photography, and also events as well, car shows and what have you. My favourite lens focal lengths for those are sort of 28mm and a 50mm at a push, usually a 28, so I can get real close and wide. So I don't think this sort of focal length 75 would do for that sort of stuff, but for portraits and landscapes, definitely going forward, I'm looking forward to using this lens. Anyway guys, let me know in the comments what you think. Have you got any of these TT Artisan lenses? Let us know. Also, if you're into your swirly bokeh, what lens do you use? What lens do you use for swirly bokeh? Especially if you've got one of those Helios lenses, or the Carl Zeiss Genar Biotar lens. Let us know if you've got one of those and what you think of it. But other than that, TT Artisan has blown me away with the quality of this particular lens. I can't fault it. other than a swirly bokeh, but that's what it's there for. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Catch you next time. Yeah, come here, let me sort your hair out.
Oh.
My hair's big.
Well, that's all right. Is it all right? I don't think I did it properly.